Good afternoon, basketball fans, and welcome to the BC Boys AAA High School Basketball Championships live tournament draw. We are joined now by your hosts, Chris Kennedy and Howard Tsumura from the Vancouver province.
Welcome, everyone, to the live announcement of this year's teams for the 2012 BC AAA Boys Basketball Championships presented by TELUS. I'm here at the Langley Events Centre, Chris Kennedy from the BC High School Boys Basketball Association, joined by Howard Tsumura, Vancouver Province. This is kind of neat.
It is. I'm totally thrilled. This is a bold new step for everything, and I think there's a lot of interest out there, obviously, Chris. So just a pleasure to be here with everybody to announce the draw.
And we're a couple minutes here late getting started. The web traffic is so high that clearly there's interest in finding out about who's matching up with who in the tournament.
That's for sure. Great news, I think, for the popularity of our sport at the high school level, especially to hear the news that so many people were trying to log on to the site that they had to get us back up and running. So, hey, great news. Everyone wants to find out how this journey is going to begin.
Probably one of the first questions you always get is, so how many teams can win this thing? You know, what do you think? We had 20 teams coming down. About how many have a real chance?
Well, I think half the teams or more can win this tournament. I mean, the parity this year is just incredible, and I think it's led to a very, very balanced draw. Whether that's a hard draw to do or an easy one, you know, we'll find out later in the show. But I think there are so many different teams that could win this draw. It's so hard to know off the top. We'll break down the brackets as we go, but it looks like an incredibly competitive group of 20.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we go to the why don't we go and look at the winners coming out of the zones? We got so our 20 teams that are coming to this tournament. I know you've been out and you've seen some of those games over the last few days. Is there anybody that didn't make it? You know, are we missing anybody that you had in your top 20 or top 10 during much of the year that's not going to be here at Langley?
Yeah, there are a few teams, and I think that, again, that speaks to the parity of this. And you look at a team like, Winston Churchill out of the Lower Mainland, team that was in the honorable mention status the whole year, lost a really tough game to Point Grey and are not here. Burnaby South, Burn Creek, teams ranked in the top 10 all season long. A surprise, nobody from New Westminster, Burnaby, or Richmond in the tournament this year. Burn Creek especially, I thought, had a good shot to be here, and they are not here. So that tells you how tough it is just to get in the draw of 20.
What about when we look at our two largest zones in coming here, the Fraser Valley and Lower Mainland? And the teams coming out of there are champions at Pitt Meadows and at St. George's. Surprises, or you see that coming?
Well, I think St. George's is a team that didn't play a lot of games this year, but played a quality schedule and never hurt itself because it continued to climb. It's might be the only team in our top 10 that never dropped a spot. They just continually climbed and did some really good. Obviously, they played so well in the big games when they mattered. So not surprised to see them there. Pitt Meadows, I think, really showed themselves as the best team in the Valley at the start of the season. 2 losses against BC competition, Chris, the whole year. Wow. So they have been the most consistent team out of the biggest zone in the province. Pitt Meadows had a great year. You
know, we look at all those zones where one team comes out of, and often you see them on the loser side. But it's kind of different this year with Kelowna coming. Have you seen Kelowna?
I have seen them a number of times, and I think anyone who has seen them will come away with a thought that this is a complete basketball team. You love the play they get at the guard spots, but they've also got a big guy in the middle who knows how to play the game. It's a complete team that has played together for a really long time. And, hey, nobody from the Okanagan zone has ever won the BC Championship. To have them coming in as the #1 overall seed in this draw, I think, is a very exciting thing.
All right. Well, why don't we go to that first day? And first day is our play-in day. 20-team tournament. 8 teams play the first day. Four of those teams move to the full draw on the Wednesday. And let's take a look at those games, and I'll get your analysis as we walk through them. So we start off in our game 1 on the first day, and Yale Point Grey.
Yeah, Yale Point Grey, I think a very interesting matchup because the teams both had to win sudden elimination games just to get there. So you'll see a great amount of desperation they had to get there. I think they're feeling good that they're there and they're going to play hard.
Game 2, we have Tupper versus Coraloo.
Yeah, and Tupper is a team that, has been one of the top teams in the Lower Mainland. Don't have the depth they've had in past seasons. So we'll see if they can put things together. But they got the big guy in the middle, Cam Smythe. I think they've got a chance to make some noise.
And let's flip back to that top bracket we had. So we had Yale Point Grey, and the other one in that top bracket is Mount Douglas versus Caledonia. Have you seen or heard of either of those teams
well,
this year?
Mount Douglas I have not seen because they didn't play a lot of ranked opposition this year. They were in the rankings for the majority of the season. They have some real big wins. They've beaten Oak Bay twice this season. So They are a team that is as good as any team on Vancouver Island. If they get it all together, it's a team that can make some noise for sure.
You've seen Caledonia, you've seen Coraloo come down each year. What can people expect out of schools like that on that Tuesday?
I think you expect teams that play hard. And you know what? I think that even if the expectation is there that they can't win the tournament and make that Cinderella run through the tournament, that they're going to play hard. And to these teams that come from upcountry, Chris, I think the big thing for them is they really value placing in the tournament, where they actually end up placing. A lot of teams coming here want to hit the home run. I think of teams like that, if they can finish top 7, top 8, they look at that and really play hard right through the draw.
And then our last game we'll look at on the Tuesday then is White Rock Christian, Mount Baker.
Yeah, and White Rock Christian, you know what, if you're part of the Fraser Valley and how tough that is, this White Rock Christian team has played an incredibly tough schedule. They've actually gone through a coaching change. John Dykstra is not coaching this team, and that's just happened in the last week. So Dale Shurey taking over. We'll see how the guys react there. They've had their ups, their downs, but talented enough to be among the very best, in the Fraser Valley.
So you look at those 4 games. Is it the Yale Point Grey game on the Tuesday that really stands out for you? Is that probably the one?
It does, because Yale has won 2 of the last 4 BCs. They missed last year. And they've got an especially young team this year. And they had to go right through the gauntlet. For them to get here, they had to win some big games down the stretch. J.J. Pancratz, he hit 6 threes yesterday to get them into this game. And Point Grey, I mean, they were off the map completely.
Yeah.
A kid named Andrew Mavidi scores 42 points for them against Churchill in a game they had to win to get here. So you see those kind of desperate performances. I think that's what both those teams will bring to the table. Right now, they're probably so pumped they can't wait for this thing to start. I love the fact that they've been paired in the opening round.
It's interesting. You talk about no Richmond teams, no Burnaby teams. Another thing we see, it's the return of the Vancouver Public School teams. Again, a couple Vancouver Public School teams we haven't seen a lot of in recent years, and Point Grey being one of those back in the tournament.
Yeah, back in the tournament. That's great. I'm sure there's a lot of happy Point Grey alums out there. And we had one in particular who was very happy that Point Grey is back in this tournament. So we'll see what happens there. And of course, we've mentioned the fact Tupper, as well as a team that is in a play-in situation, and obviously a very good team from the east side of the city.
Well, let's move to Wednesday. And on Wednesday, there are some games that people go, oh, for a Wednesday, that's a tough matchup, and we'll work our way through the draw. Our first game we're going to look at Wednesday on the top of the draw is our Vancouver College Belmont.
Yeah, and it's an interesting matchup because Vancouver College to be Lower Mainland 3 after being in the championship final last year, again, speaks to the parity, Chris, of what's going on here. They're a very, very quality team. Can't look past Belmont, though. This is a team that finished second on the island when nobody thought, they were going to be the second-place team, let alone, I think they were the ultimate bubble team on the island. Could they make it? And they are here. So a bit of an underdog situation, but Vancouver College, quality team.
So Vancouver College, can they win this tournament?
Hey,
they're in that group. They're in that group.
Yeah, among that big group of teams, I think that can win it. And who's going to get hot at the end of the year? That's the key here. Who can get hot? And Vancouver College has played their arch rival St. George's 4 times. They've split them all. I mean, who knows what anything could happen here.
And let's look at the rest of that bracket. So in the rest of that bracket, we have the winner coming from the Yale Point Grey game, and we have them going up against Kelowna.
Yeah, I mean, that's what your reward is for scrapping and tooth and nail to get there, and then having to win, a sudden elimination game in a play-in situation. Not an easy thing to do. And then to have to turn around and get a team as complete as Kelowna is going to be a very daunting task. And I think people that watch this Kelowna team, Chris, they're going to be very impressed with their guard, Mitch Goodwin, who I think might be the best point guard in the province.
And you look at that time in 8-15 game, that will be an interesting one. And then you just play that out with that potential, what you're talking about, perhaps on a Thursday, a Vancouver College-Kelowna matchup.
Wow, I know. And, it's an interesting matchup because Kelowna did come down recently to play 2 games, quality games, and they scheduled Vancouver College and actually lost to the Irish since the final rankings have been released. So those 2 teams have played very recently, and Kelowna, there are thoughts that they weren't completely healthy.
Yep.
I mean, was there a flu bug going through the team at the time? We're not sure. But the Irish won that game, and I think that gives them a lot of confidence, potentially, for that Final 8 matchup.
Well, let's move on to that second Wednesday bracket and go to Game 11. Game 11, we have Kitsilano versus Mowat.
I think this might be the best opening round game of the play-in and the second round.
Really?
I just think it's an incredible matchup because both teams are coming on. Kit's got to the mainland final. They have improved as the season has gone along, but nobody has improved more than Mowat, who lost their center, Tristan Etienne, to an open heart surgery in January.
Yep.
He's back playing with this team, and they start 2 grade 10s, Corey Hawk, the guard, as well, and they are coming on like gangbusters in the last little while. So this one is an opening round matchup, but again, we go back to the top of the show. We talk about parity and how crazy it is right now to have a matchup like that. These 2 teams are both ranked in the top 10 to start the year, and Mowat actually beat Kits by 6 early in the season, so a chance for a rematch.
But 2 teams that have really improved and moving in the right direction heading into this tournament.
There's no question.
And the rest of that bracket brings us our Mount Doug Caledonia winner coming out, and they will go against Walnut Grove. Talk about Walnut Grove.
Walnut Grove. has so much to offer in terms of the way they play. And I think fan-friendly basketball and teams that like to get up and down the floor, shoot the three, do a lot of that kind of stuff, people gravitate towards those teams.
Yeah.
That is Walnut Grove. And they've got a special grade 10 player named Jaden Cohey, who, I mean, you don't talk about him as being one of the best grade 10s in the province anymore, Chris. You call him maybe one of the best players in the province. He has opened my eyes. He is an incredible guy to watch, and they've got so many other guys on that team that play so unselfish. Walnut Grove, I think, is a great basketball team.
So what you look at that. So that's our top half of the draw. Who do you see? Who do you see coming out of that on the Thursday? Do you have a couple that you look at and go, boy, these are a couple possible semifinalists in there?
Well, I don't know what to say other than all I can say is Vancouver College, Kelowna, and Walnut Grove are three of the top 5 or 6 teams in the province, and those teams are looking to be pushing towards getting into this Final 8. So I think, if you go by the numbers, and I went through the numbers, that in my last set of rankings, if you went just by rankings, this draw is so evenly balanced, Chris, that you could have 1 through 9 in the Final 8 with one team out of place.
Really?
That's how close it is, and that's how well this draw was done. I just think it's a perfect draw. I don't think anybody can complain, and we'll talk about that later, but it really is an even draw.
And so we'll move on to the bottom half of the draw. First game that we'll look at is Game 8, Oak Bay, Terry Fox.
Wow, that's an interesting one too, and some history behind it too, because the teams played early in the season. Terry Fox actually spent 1 week at number 1. Went to Oak Bay and lost that game, and that's why they dropped out. So these two teams have played already this season. I think they're pretty evenly matched. Oak Bay might not have got the absolute quality of schedule that Terry Fox did, but I think these two teams match up very well, and that promises to be just a dogfight, I think, in that opening round.
What's the word coming off the island this year? Are they in the mix? These are 3 island teams.
Well, I think Oak Bay has shown themselves to be the most consistent team on the island. Although Mount Douglas has beaten them twice, I think Oak Bay is the best team on the island, and it showed in the island final when they beat Belmont. But are they there ready to tackle the top 4 teams in this province if they get into that type of a situation? Yet to be seen. Don't know if they are going to be, but we can't discount anybody because we've talked about the parity from top to bottom. It's just been incredible. And
the rest of that bracket has our winner of Tupper, Coraloo, and they'll go against Pitt Meadows.
Yeah, that's a reward, isn't it? Pitt Meadows has been incredibly consistent. We've talked about that, and I've loved the play of Severinsky and Blackaby, their top 2 players, all season long. I think they're just on a mission right now, and I think as well as potentially Tupper can go in there and create mismatches because they've got a 7-footer in Cam Smythe. Don't know if they can throw Pitt off enough to make that happen, but we'll see. Tupper, if they get past that opening round game against Coraloo, really going to need their other guys to step up. Corpus and Daniel Kim, they're going to have to step to the fore, and they're going to have to get more than just Cam Smythe if they want to get past a team as deep and talented as Pitt Meadows.
And we've seen a few Pitt Meadows Terry Fox games in the past, haven't we?
We have. What a rivalry. And you know what? 2 straight games, to end the Fraser Valley North League, and then in the playoffs for the Fraser Valley North Championship, the teams meet back-to-back. In such a short span of time, Pitt Meadows wins them both. Terry Fox is coming through a real tough span right now, though, because they've lost and been competitive, but have lost 4 big games down the stretch here. So we'll see if this blue-collar group can really get it back, and try and make something happen here as they get into the tournament.
And then we go to our final bracket on the Wednesday, and we look at Timanowis versus Carson Graham.
Carson Graham, I wish they played more outside of the Howe Sound, because I think the Howe Sound in particular, Chris, we didn't see them matching up against top 10 teams a lot. Bit of an unknown here in Carson Graham. Let's just remember, though, they had to beat Handsworth back-to-back to get out of that double knockout situation in the Howe Sound. So they're somewhat battle-tested as they come into this tournament. Timanowis, though, they have played everybody. They've been in every big tournament. They've beaten Vancouver College already this year. I mean, you look at the quality of wins that they have, they can be tough. And they play a 1-3-1 zone that, if you're not patient in how you attack it, can really cause you problems. Then they come down the other way down the court with Manny Dulé, the point guard, who can just flat-out shoot it. I mean, they gave Pitt huge problems in the Fraser Valley semifinal on Friday. So Timanowis is a real quality team.
Timanowis, not a school most people have long associated with the long, rich tradition like the Pitt Meadows and the Terry Fox, but are in the mix.
They are the one rising team in the Valley over the last couple of years that you can say has joined the provincial elite. They get to the tournament last year, had a really good experience. Just getting in the gym at this tournament and having the chance to play some games is huge. And a guy like Manny Dulé, who's an exciting 3-point shooting, scoring guard, I think he really learned a lot from his experience. And Timanowis being here this year, their eyes aren't as wide. They're ready and they're focused, and I think they're going to have a pretty good shot here if they play their basketball to make a run.
And then we go to our final game on the Wednesday, or the final piece of that bracket. We got our winner coming out of White Rock Christian Mount Baker. And we talked before, and probably you're thinking is White Rock Christian, and they get St. George's. A private school versus private school matchup on the Wednesday. Two traditional powers here at the tournament.
They are. And St. George's, I know there's been a storm surrounding St. George's for a whole bunch of different reasons. But I think the one thing you can say about St. George's is the way that their kids focused. When they had to play, they did. They brought their game. They won the Lower Mainlands at the buzzer yesterday. I think that gives them a focus as they come in. White Rock Christian, young in a lot of ways.
White Rock Christian's always young, aren't they, when they come?
They're always young. Yeah, they are. And the grade 11, class on their team, pretty talented team with a guy like Tyus Allen, at the point guard spot. Jake Newman, their senior forward, I think a very, very good player. They've had an up and down season. But the big thing for that program is they never backed away, and they did have a tough schedule. If you don't schedule tough and you try and come in here and recreate that in the 5 days you've got here, you're in trouble. White Rock Christian at least knows what the battle's about, and they're going to get one from St. George's if they get past that first.
This White Rock Christian team, though, we've seen White Rock Christian teams in the finals lots of years. Are they in that group? Are they in the elite White Rock Christian teams we've seen?
Well, they're not in the class of the Maras when they had Tyrell Mara and those guys. It's not that type of a team, and it's more. You don't want to say by committee because people often say you're just saying they're not as good, but they're an emerging team. They're younger at a lot of spots, learning how to be a competitive team, and we'll see how they do. St. George's, though, has been battle-tested, and they have performed when they've had to perform. And just look at their series of games against Vancouver College, and they know what it takes to get up for big games.
So, we got 8 games, so it's tough to make a pick, but you looked at that. Is there a game there that's the must-watch?
Well, you know what? I think just in terms of the entertainment factor and the fact that both teams are rising steadily, the Kitsilano-Mowat game on the top half of the draw that we talked about is a must-see game in my book. I love the way, Mowat has improved, and I love the way that they start 2 grade 10s at such critical positions on the floor, the point guard and in the post. So you see a team emerge, and I think Mowat really is emerging right now. Don't want to put too much pressure on them, but I like the way their other guys have started to play as well.
And I think we're just going to take a bit of a break here and a little bit of a promotion about a lot of things going on at the tournament. Real credit to what they've done here at the Langley Events Centre. They're looking to bring back champions from different decades. It's pretty neat what they're trying to do around the history, isn't it?
Well, the greatest part about this tournament is that the people who run it care about the history. And I was thinking about that this morning, because if you don't cherish your history, you don't have anything to build on. And I think because this tournament has such great history and recorded history, I think is what makes it great. It's why I love following, getting the program, looking at things. It's really fun to be a part of.
Great. And so we're going to go to that, and then we've got George Oswald going to join us too, and he's sort of the wizard behind the screen, and he's going to talk to us a little bit more about the draw.
For the first time in tournament history, you'll get the chance to honor past champions of the BC Boys AAA Basketball Championships right here at the Langley Events Centre. Saturday night, March 17th, 5 o'clock in the banquet hall, we will have on hand the champions from the 1962, 1972, 1982, 1992, and 2002 championship teams. You can sit down and enjoy dinner, watch a special presentation, and head out to watch the final game of the 2012 tournament directly after. That's right, folks, the first annual Decades of Champions banquet right here at the Langley Events Centre. Get your tickets now. For more information, visit www.langleyeventcentre.com/AAA Boys. If you're looking to stay up to date with who's going to be playing at the Langley Events Centre this March 13th to 17th in the BC High School Boys AAA Basketball Championships, you can do so at teamradio.ca with the road to the LEC. Ian McCletchy has got all the action and recaps with the coaches who are trying to get their teams to the finals this year. Check it out at www.teamradio.ca for the road to the LEC.
All right, we're back, and we're gonna clear up a couple of the time things on the first day. So, as people, as our friends in Kelowna were probably looking at the draw and saw themselves at the 8:15 a.m. time.
Oh no!
Oh no! Right? I'm not sure if it's any better or worse, but they're in the 8:15 p.m. slot, and so we'll if we bring the full draw up on the screen, I think we have the full draw that's going to come up.
Some hard tremors there.
There were, that's right, and but unfortunately on the other side, our 8:30 game that was announced earlier that we said was a PM game is actually an 8:30 a.m. game. And so
and that will be the Walnut Grove versus the Mount Douglas Caledonia winner, I believe. And
yeah, so that's right. So Walnut Grove is there in the versus Mount Doug Caledonia, and then 8:15 p.m. we'll get our winner of the play-in game between our game one Yale Point Grey, and they have Kelowna.
Exactly. Yeah. So we've got that straightened out. And for Walnut Grove, the early time, it's good. They're right in Langley.
That's right.
Nice
It's a home court advantage they might have here.
they can walk to their first game.
That's right. And so we look at the tournament, and you've been covering this for a long time. There will always be critics of the draw. You've seen it. You've looked at it. You've talked about it a bit now. What do you think of it?
It's every year you look at the draw and you wonder, could they have done something different here? Why is that team potentially there when they could have put that team there? Hey, part of the thing is, they're keeping zones away from each other in the opening round, and George Oswald will talk about that. But I think it's a great draw. Like I said, right off the top, as balanced a draw as I've ever seen. And I've looked at a lot of draws over the last 20 years, Chris. This draw, I can't have an issue with anything that happens here because it's so equally balanced in all four quadrants. And in the end, that is what gives you the best Final 8, the best Final 4, and hopefully the best championship final.
Well, and I think what you said, when you have the people who are supposed to win come out of the zones in the right order, you end up getting a better draw. There was no dramatic upset that saw a top-ranked team finish 4th or 5th in their zone, which led to a sort of a funny placing here.
But that said, we do have our good share of underdogs, and we do have a good share of teams that are on the rise that may not reflect fully in their zone seeding. So if you have those teams all part of this whole active process, there are room for upset still. And I think that is what makes it fun. The draw itself is great.
Well, and what you said, it may be a Mowat or a Kitts, a team that has been up and down, but it seems to be on the rise coming into the tournament. Those are the teams that probably aren't part of your top 4 seeds, but both have a chance to make a run here.
Yeah, I think so. And not to put undue pressure on anybody, but you look at how teams are performing over the last 2 to 3 weeks of the season. Finishing your regular season, getting into your zone playoffs, are you on a roll at that point? Those are the teams that usually come in and make a real big statement at the provincial tournament.
And, is this the year that a team from the Okanagan finally wins the provincials?
If it happens, it's great for basketball. There's no questions. Getting champions from different regions around the province, is a great thing. And there's a great, Vernon team with J.D. Jackson that couldn't get it done. Yeah. Maple Ridge beat them. So is that ready to happen? South Cam with Kelly Olynyk a couple of years ago. They've had quality teams over the last quarter century. Is somebody ready to really go out there and grab it? And perhaps it's Kelowna.
All right. And so I think George Oswald's going to come in and join and slide in for you, Howard.
Okay.
And so George Oswald is our chair of the draw committee. And so, George, what I asked Howard there right at the end, easy draw, hard draw, talk about that.
I think you both alluded to it a moment ago when you said that the teams that were supposed to won in their zones are qualified through their zones at the level they were supposed to and actually made the draw a fairly easy draw to do this year.
And so, I know we don't talk about seedings a lot, but what are some of the other principles? We talked about a couple matchups. You see Terry Fox, Pitt Meadows, maybe a day 2. Do they ever will they match up? Do we have any teams from the same zone ever match up on a Wednesday?
That's one of the things we try to avoid is those type of matchup, particularly because of the large zones and the quality of that comes out of the Fraser Valley and the Lower Mainland, the 2 of the larger zones. We try to ensure that if they're going to meet on the second or third day, if possible. But a lot depends on how they finish in their zones, and we were very fortunate this year that, as I said earlier, the right teams finished where they were supposed to, according to the polls all year.
Right, from Howard's polls, right, it turned out in the tournament, in the zone tournaments, you have your Kelownas, you have your St. George's, you have your Pitt Meadows. They all really did what they were supposed to do over the last week.
Very much so, and that will lead, I think, to a very interesting tournament because of the parity throughout the province this year and the rise of Kelowna from the Okanagan is going to make for a very interesting tournament.
Great. And so, we're just about to wrap up here. The tournament, though, is coming just over a week away here at the Langley Events Centre. All of the games being streamed live through the same place that you're seeing this broadcast today through the Langley Events Centre website. I know the association has done a lot of work to try to embrace the technology and to try to make sure we get the game out to the largest possible audience. And so I'm sure there will be talk about the draw. As much as Howard thinks it may be one of the best ones, and we're confident about it today. But what we definitely have is a lot of great Wednesday matchups and some really intriguing ones. Especially as we head into Thursdays, rematches of some classic rivalries and some rematches already from last year's tournament as well. And so everybody out there that joins us, thanks for this new adventure that we've tried as we launch the live stream for our tournament. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody in just over a week here live from the Langley Events Centre for the 2012 AAA Boys Basketball Championships presented by TELUS.
Thank you for watching the BC Boys AAA High School Basketball Championships live tournament draw brought to you by the Langley Events Centre. Don't forget the tournament gets underway Tuesday, March 13th, right here at the Langley Events Centre. Tickets are available online now at www.ticketmaster.ca. And for all your tournament needs, head to langleyeventcenter.com/AAA Boys. We'll see you in a week.